You get your score report back, you open it up, and you see a 1600. What was your reaction?
My dad was like, okay, open your eyes. I opened them and I screamed, I think. It was an insane moment. And that's when it exploded. There were like 100 comments. Everyone was asking for my tips and like, how did I do it? And kind of trying to think through, like, how did I do this? And those videos took off way more than I ever thought they would. A couple million views total with that series. People in the comments were reaching out saying their scores were increasing from like a 1200 to a 1500, past a 1550. It doesn't really matter. I don't think you should be stressing your kid out to get a 1600. Your student has to want to do well. Explaining why the SAT is important.
All right, in the next hour, Anna Klinger is going to walk you through exactly how she scored a perfect SAT 1600 and why she's now giving away those strategies for free to over 40,000 students on YouTube. No theory, just what actually works. Welcome back to the Supported Learning Podcast. I'm Dr. Joe Sebastian. Families often ask me how to navigate the maze of college prep without wasting thousands of dollars and years of time. The answer usually involves finding the people who have figured out the rules of the game that schools aren't telling you. This is why I'm thrilled to have Anna Klinger here today. Anna is a chemical engineering PhD student at UC Berkeley, a perfect 1600 SAT score, and the creator of Anna's Universe, a YouTube channel with over 40,000 subscribers where she teaches SAT strategies, does real-time digital SAT speedruns, and shares college admissions advice. We're going to dive into what actually takes to crack the SAT at the highest level, why most families are overpaying for test prep, and how the digital SAT has changed the game. Anna, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on. It's my pleasure to be here.
I've given them the highlight reel, but I want to hear from you. We're going to give them the 60 seconds snapshot of who you are, what was the specific problem you solved for students and families, and how you've accomplished that over the past years with education.
Yeah, so my name's Anna. I'm a PhD student at UC Berkeley right now, but I'm probably more known in the SAT world for my YouTube channel, Anna's Universe. I started it way back in middle school, but it really transitioned into an SAT prep source in high school after I scored a 1600. I basically try to provide every single tip I have, all of the advice that I've gained from preparing for so long and tutoring students over the years. I can really gather the tips that work best for me and the tips that work for both the average student, the very high performing student, a very broad range of students. So I really try to make my test prep content very accessible for the average student, maybe somebody who has never seen the SAT ever before, or somebody who's really wants to get that 1600. It's targeted towards all of those students.
Everyone sees that perfect 1600 and the Berkeley PhD, but I want to deconstruct the engine behind that. So let's start with what actually got you there.
Yeah.
So 2020 then is the pandemic, and
Yeah.
you're a high school senior in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you take the SAT?
So I took it during the school SAT, so in September, like during the school day. Yeah.
So T minus 6 months before or was that during the shutdown? No, that was
It
before
was, let's see, it was 6 months after the shutdown.
Okay, after the shutdown, because because it was 1920 school year that was the shutdown. So we came back in 2020. I mean, it's crazy. Like now it's like history, but it's okay. So what did they do during the pandemic?
Oh yeah, they stayed closed until basically my graduation. So I missed
So
the
you didn't
last.
even go back to in person at all during that time?
No, we did like a hybrid the last month of school for me, but
Wow. Okay.
I've basically spent a year and a half secluded in my home, lots of time
Wow.
on my hands,
Okay.
doing school from bed. Probably not the best idea.
Okay. So were you a senior or were you a junior that when you got the perfect score?
I was a senior, like
Okay.
just starting senior year.
Okay. So like no idea what the landscape looks like. School's closed, world turned upside down. and you go into your SAT. Did you take it in person? Was it digital?
Yeah, so I took it in person, like before they
Okay.
switched to the digital SAT. It
Okay.
was a little bit different because of COVID, and I think this actually helped me a lot. I was
Yeah.
surrounded by not strangers, but like my classmates and friends. So I think that helped lower my anxiety a lot, which I think is one of the biggest things in succeeding is just controlling your mindset day of.
Hmm.
We were also all a little bit separated, like 6 feet apart, so the room was a little bit less crowded, which I think also helped me.
Right. Did you do like traditional prep for it? Was prep different? What did it look like?
Yeah, so I did actually quite a lot of prep, but maybe not as much as some people think.
Okay.
So basically, in middle school, I learned that the SAT was like an important test that you should
Hmm.
do well on. So I started with like the 2016 SAT prep content, which looked much different than what you should use now or what's even good to prep with. But that's
Right.
what I started with, just like learning vocabulary and just expanding my vocabulary a little bit very early on. But I didn't really start preparing until maybe my sophomore, junior year of high school.
Mm.
And that looked like I took a lot of the Khan Academy, all the 8 practice tests that College Board offered, and like
Yeah.
doing the Khan Academy free prep first. Then when I exhausted that, I actually went on the SAT subreddit. That was kind of my haven for a while.
Okay.
They had these things called QAS, which it
Okay.
was when people take a test, they can pay to get the all the answers and
Right.
like the explanations. So a lot of people like had those on Reddit, and there was like a whole Google Drive of them. So I got like a lot of extra prep that way, just like seeking out a lot of extra resources. And then finally, or yeah, then finally I used Prep Scholar because I actually begged my parents. I'm like, I really want to get as high a score as possible on this. I was very self-motivated, and I ended up using Prep Scholars, like their online program, and that was very helpful for me.
So you were pretty self motivated, it sounds like, to
Yes.
do that much reps. And it sounds like you got literally thousands of reps at SAT questions.
I wouldn't even say that much. I think total, it sounds like a lot, but it was maybe 50 or 100 hours total of prep throughout that
Still a
whole
lot.
time.
Still
Still a
less
lot.
than
And I think it's you have to be self-motivated. I think that's
okay.
the key thing to take away is like you need to find as a student why you're motivated to do well. You need to become like obsessed with the SAT, obsessed enough to make a YouTube channel afterwards and
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
keep going with it. But yeah, so I think that was helpful for me doing well. And
Yeah, before we get into the YouTube channel thing, so I guess you get your score report back, you open it up and you see a 1600. What was your reaction?
it was insane. So I had my dad open it for me because I was scared. This was like my last chance. It wasn't that high stress of a situation because I had already taken it a couple times before and done well on it. This was just the free one offered by my school, so very low
Right.
stakes. I said, just I'll give it a shot. And my dad was like, okay, open your eyes. I opened them and I screamed, I think. It was an insane moment that I'll always remember.
That's really cool. So I guess then what happened? Like you've already sent out applications, I assume, or were in that or you weren't in okay.
No, it was just in time for me to start sending out applications to schools. So that was
Gotcha.
very good timing. That was probably the September or the October SAT your senior year is like the last chance you get before college admissions.
Okay.
So
So did that change anything for you? Did that like what was the how was the strategy different after that?
yeah, I felt a lot more reassured and relieved. I think in the long run, it didn't help as much as I thought it would. Like, I still got rejected by a fair amount of schools. It's not the make or break of an application at all. So, like, once
Interesting.
you get above a certain score, you shouldn't worry too much about getting a 1600. That's not necessarily a good use of your time, but it can be helpful. Like, I think it got me a lot more scholarships than I probably wouldn't have gotten, but I think more important was what I did after the 1600, like doing the teaching and the more
Yeah.
outreach portion of it, I think really resonated with some of the like scholarship programs.
So you got into Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Is that where you wanted to go? I mean, you literally right down the street from there.
Yes, that was one of my dream schools for sure. I also
Okay.
got into UC Berkeley for undergrad, and
Oh,
that
you
was another
did?
one of my dream schools. Yes, it was just not financially a viable option being an out-of-state student, but
And
yeah.
even did they give you scholarship money to potentially go there or?
No, so Berkeley didn't do any scholarships, which was a little unfortunate. So
Okay.
that
And
was
I
not.
assume Michigan gave you probably a lot, right?
They gave me a full ride, so that
You
was
got a full ride to
definitely.
Michigan.
Yeah, so I got paid to go to school basically
That's
in my
amazing.
undergrad.
Okay.
So it's definitely worth getting a high score, right? Like can save a lot of money financially and just lead to some really good opportunities.
Well, I have to ask just because of what we do, but did you do well on your AP exams as well?
Yeah, so I did pretty well on them. I got fours and fives on all of them, mostly fives.
Okay.
I think a couple fours, and I got a lot of AP credit that I could use in college for that
Okay.
as well.
Did that
So,
help you get through
oh yeah.
your degree faster? Okay.
Not
Gotcha.
faster because my degree specifically, they make you take all 4 years basically. It's not possible to graduate early, but I got to take a much lighter load than all my classmates. I got to do two minors and a concentration and just do a lot more with my time, I think. And it
Gotcha.
made college more fun and like more
Okay.
enjoyable for me.
Sure. So, okay, so then we get through college. So when did you start your YouTube channel?
I started it in middle school way back in the day, and if
Or
you
the
go back
SAT?
before the SAT, so I was always really into like the skits on YouTube. I loved making little animations and stop motions. So that's actually how it started. It's not really educational content,
Yeah.
but just more like fun content. And then in high school, I think it took a little change. I started making like geology animations, and I figured out I really like teaching and like sharing with people just about things I'm passionate about.
Okay.
And then after I got the 1600, I did have a moment where I needed to get my moment on Reddit and post a screenshot of it to Reddit. And that's when it exploded. There were like 100 comments. Everyone was asking for my tips and like, how did I do it? And I just kept typing like paragraphs and paragraphs to people and kind of trying to think through like, how did I do this? And I ended up getting so overwhelmed trying to answer everyone that I just made a series of videos on YouTube to direct people to um, for like if they needed advice on the SAT. And those videos took off way more than I ever thought they would. It turned into a couple million views total with that series. And people in the comments were reaching out saying their scores were increasing from like a 1200 to a 1500 just by watching one video and just like diligently applying those tips. So that to me was like a moment where I knew I wanted to keep making SAT content and helping people.
Well, that's really, really cool because like that's the heart of a teacher. You're a giver. You want to give things away. And it's funny because your impact is so large. You're 40,000, right? And I know you obviously you do have you do help kids. You do charge a little bit for tuition, but do you find when we give things away, people pay attention to what they say? It seems like they've actually put that in action on your YouTube channel if they're making those comments.
Yeah, so I'd say a lot of people, hundreds of people, have like implemented the tips, put them to use, and seen increases in their scores that like the private SAT tutoring companies are offering,
Right.
like
Well,
150, 200 points.
right.
That's
So I
crazy.
guess what makes your approach to SAT different from Kaplan, from Princeton Review, or like a $200 private hour tutor?
Yeah, so I'm still trying to grapple with that. I think the main thing is I make SAT prep more approachable for people and very close to the actual content of the test. I think I've had a lot of experience. I've spent many hours looking at these questions, kind of picking them apart in a way that maybe some of these bigger test prep companies don't always do really diligently.
Right.
And especially with the digital SAT, you can break it down question by question and master every single question. So I think like some of the content I do helps people to do that better and really just like gives them the toolkit because a lot of it is just the strategy of test taking and um not the actual knowledge.
I gotcha. Okay. So you figured out the system, kind of like, let's break it down for potential parents listening. So if a student came to you today with like a 1300 and was like, I want to get a 1500 plus, what's the first thing you diagnose and where do you start?
Yeah, so I'd ask them which section is their weakest section. So reading or math. Usually it's reading for people, which I like to hear because reading is my stronger section, I think. And I'll basically have them take a practice test if they haven't taken one yet. If they have taken one, I'll have them break it down section by section. College Board classifies kind of how good you are at every single subsection of the reading section and the math section. And usually, if somebody's getting a 1300, there's going to be like one or two weaker sections. We're going to focus on those exact sections, go through, and I'll watch them do Khan Academy prep. Like it's nothing
Right.
super novel. Like I'll just have them go through Khan Academy, have them walk through what they're doing to me, and usually we'll find flaws in their thought process or just like they won't be able to walk through how they're doing it. So then I'll walk them through how I would approach that question. They can then, by having to teach it to somebody, it kind of implements, like you have to know what you're doing if you're
Right.
teaching it. So I think that kind of helps people the quickest. I'll give them like some rapid fire tips on the specific questions that they struggle most with. And then usually within like 2 minutes of hearing a tip, they're getting all the questions right in that section instead of getting them all wrong. Like you can go from getting them all wrong to all right in this specific question category just by understanding what it's asking and making sure you're not falling into the common pitfalls that people make.
Hmm.
And it
Okay.
depends, it's student dependent a little bit. So that's where like the more private tutoring approach can help. But I think you can do this you're on your own as well.
Yeah, I gotcha. I think that's key for parents to hear, but also like important to pause in that because, ultimately, I guess, excuse me, excuse me. Um, if you broke down your framework, right, what would be the key pillars in how you approach SAT prep?
Let's see. Like one on one or like to a broader audience? Because I think it kind of depends.
Okay. So what? So I guess if a student comes to you, can we get a little specific? I guess.
Mhm.
So you mentioned the reading, the writing section, or the reading and math section. Um, if a student comes there scoring a 700, how do you get them to an 800?
For the math section, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would break down what category they're making the most mistakes in. So very targeted prep. You're not going to waste your time studying the things that you already know because you already know 7/8 of the test, right? So you only really need to get really good at that 1/8 and then prevent yourself from making careless mistakes. One of my pillars, I think, is preventing careless mistakes, like making students walk through in their head why they're saying a certain answer choice and making sure they eliminate every single other choice. Because that's the only way you're going to guarantee to not fall into the trap answer choices. I think also one of my pillars is having students classify their mistakes. So a mistakes tracker is very important. You can do it with
Mm.
a spreadsheet, a notebook. Um, some platforms have this built into it, but honestly, a good old spreadsheet works well. You just classify it, you write down the question, the answer choice you picked, the answer choice that's correct, and then you think about it. And you think, why did I make this mistake? How can I avoid this in the future? This might be something that AI can help with now. You can like go over all of your mistakes, type it into ChatGPT or something, have it output like the exact concepts that are relevant for those questions and how you can avoid personally making that mistake. But it's really a self-reflection thing. And I think a lot of SAT prep is just being internally motivated. So, like having somebody externally to help you, that's great, but it really comes from within, and you have to find a way why you're motivated to do well.
Okay. Is this same true for the English part of it?
Yeah, I would say it applies. Probably it's easier to fix mistakes with math and with grammar. Like the grammar section of reading are the easiest points to pinpoint. Like when
Okay.
someone comes to me and is like, "Oh, I'm horrible at grammar," I'm like, "Yes, that's the easiest part to fix extremely quickly. Like we can get you up like 150 points in one session, basically."
So you have something called a speed run through the SAT. Like what is that? What is that and why does it work so well?
The speed runs, that's very funny. So that's basically my clickbait title for it. But basically, it's a my attempt at a real-time walkthrough of an SAT. Sometimes
Okay.
it runs a little longer because I'm explaining, but I think they're effective because it shows students exactly how I would think through it. Like as somebody who's very familiar with the SAT, like how do I think through this? What mistakes did I almost make as I'm going through this? And that's probably going to be a very common mistake because all the questions are designed for people to make mistakes on. That's how you get variations in score. Like there's going to be trap answer choices. There's going to be misleading phrases in the question. So the key is to avoid falling into those and seeing somebody walk through start to finish a question or a whole section can really help you do that.
Gotcha. Okay. So the SAT went digital after you've already got your perfect SAT and now you're helping kids with that. Um how does this change the strategy? Are there things students can exploit in the digital format that they couldn't before?
Definitely. So I am actually pretty excited that the SAT changed. I think it's easier in some ways and harder in some ways too.
Hmm.
It's
Okay.
harder because the question, you have less time per question now. So you have to kind of speed run through it, borrowing from my series name.
Click click it.
But it's easier in a lot of ways too. I think the reading is easier because you no longer have to read those very, very bulky passages. There's only like a short paragraph max, or sometimes two short paragraphs max per question. And each question has a different passage associated with it. So that means if, like, back in the day, the historical passages were everyone's worst nightmare. Like, that is where people lose points because all of the archaic language, like, you can just not understand some of the words and miss questions because of that. I think that's harder to do now. It's made the SAT more inclusive, I think, and it's just better overall. I think there's less jargon. It's more in line with news articles, like things that are going to be relevant to the majority of people. So I think it's easier to study for just by reading normal things, the news. You don't need to be reading crazy historical passages to prepare. There's only going to be a few questions like that now instead of a whole fifth of the reading section like that and
Right.
another fifth on like very heavy literature. I think for the math section, you can now use Desmos on it, and that is a
Oh,
huge win. That is the biggest thing. It basically makes the whole math section very easily solvable, even if you don't have the graphing calculator software. So again, making it more inclusive, making it just lower barrier to entry. But I would say one of the biggest things is just learning when to use Desmos and when not to use Desmos. A lot of students get really caught up on overusing Desmos now when sometimes
right.
it's not as useful for a question. And it's easier to do it by hand, but it's always good for like the linear equations, just different types of questions that used to take minutes to solve now take seconds.
Hmm.
And once you catch those tricks, you can save that time and spend them on the hardest questions. I would say also for the math section, the last few questions in the section have gotten a lot harder than they used to be. So they're actually like pretty challenging. Even for a chemical engineer graduate student, sometimes I have to think about it a little bit.
Right.
I get humbled occasionally.
So so then okay, so there's families that are going to invest, there's families that are not going to invest, right? There's families that need free resources, um and there's a bunch of stuff out there, right?
Hmm.
What are worthwhile? What resources would you recommend? You mentioned a couple earlier, but I guess just what are some resources that this is really good if you don't have money to invest, if you're not going to invest? What's the playbook basically?
Yes. So the free playbook is my favorite to recommend because I really don't think it's really necessary to invest in outside resources that often unless you've really used up everything that's free. Because the free resources are the most accurate. Khan Academy was created by College Board. It has the section breakdown exactly how you're going to see in the actual test. The Blue Book exams, I recommend taking the tests exactly in the real condition that you're going to be taking the test in. So download Blue Book. That's their free software that the SAT is offered on, and then take all of their practice tests, somewhat spread out, and use Khan Academy's SAT prep program, which is also free and sponsored by College Board, basically. So it's the most accurate resource. And learn all of the topics based on what you're struggling most on those real exams. You'll figure out pretty quickly if time is an issue, if there's like specific topics that are challenging, and if you're motivated enough, you can look into extra content for some of those really tricky sections. Um, but yeah, that's my favorite thing to recommend for people. It's pretty basic, but it works.
Okay, cool. The then there's families that are going to invest in SAT prep. Where should they put it? Like what's worth paying for? What's worth investing in?
So this is tough. I haven't tried out all of the like paid resources, but I know that Prep Scholar worked well for me in high school, for the non-digital SAT at least. And I have seen people be really successful with it for the digital SAT as well. And it
Okay.
gives you, they do a very good job of emulating the College Board style of questions. I think a lot of test prep companies don't do that very well. Like they don't put enough effort into matching the exact question style. And you're just going to be wasting your time if it's not the exact things that College Board is testing you on. It's you really want to be studying for the test, which is sad. Like you should be building your skills. I mean, it's a little bit stupid that it's is that way,
Right.
but you can basically study for specifically for the SAT with the free resources. And I would say Prep Scholar is a good resource.
So why do people pay money for it if you can do it for free?
I think it's easier to kind of throw money at a problem than really diagnose what's going wrong. And so people who have money can use that as a method to succeed when maybe it's not really necessary or doesn't really help everybody as much as it's maybe advertised.
People pay attention when they pay though.
They do. That's another thing is I think it adds a level of external motivation for students. If their parent is paying $1,000 for a private class or a private tutor, they're gonna feel a little bit more pressured to study. And I think that is kind of the most that private tutoring and like the really expensive prep programs offer people, which can be good. Like if you have that money and you need that motivation to succeed, I think that is a good option for people. But I don't think it's necessary.
So that's essentially the system. You kind of walked us through that. I guess let's talk about what doesn't work. What's the biggest mistake you see students making when they prep for the SAT?
Let's see. I would say studying what they know already. It's very easy to do that because you feel really good when you're answering all the questions. that you do really well on. Like, say you're really good at grammar, you can go through, ace the entire grammar section of the reading test, but then maybe you really don't want to study the geometry section of math. And people will put off the section that they don't like for as long as they can. And I'm guilty of that too, like in my schooling, for sure. But I think you really have to be uncomfortable. Like, get comfortable with being uncomfortable and not knowing things and trying to figure out a way to learn that in a way that you can understand.
Interesting. I see. I keep seeing the pattern that you're describing. Like there is it's a very iterative process, which is very similar to what we do for test prep, right? Because
Mhm.
but there essentially is you're putting in a high volume of work, but you're being reflective in your practice, and you're at least you're self correcting and being able to measure where you are to where you want to go.
Mhm.
Kids just don't do that. Like most of
Yeah.
the time you are unique in that way, but I mean it is a very good process what you're describing.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest pitfall for people is taking all the practice tests as fast as they can in not the real conditions, and then they're out of prep. You really kind of want to savor the closest
Mm,
resource you have to the SAT. It's a little bit, you gotta you gotta kind of plan it or take
yeah.
some gambles if you're like, oh, am I gonna take an SAT after this? But you want to kind of be strategic with how you take the actual practice tests and don't waste it. Like, you're only going to get as much out of it as like what you're learning from each one. Like, if you just take it, get a 1300 and say, okay, I got a 1300. Like, that's not helpful. You're still going to score a
Right.
1300 the next time. You really have to make the most out of every single practice test that you have.
See, like I agree. Like we do that at the end of our test prep. We want to simulate the real conditions a minimum of 4 times, because like how many students are going to actually take 4 full length AP practice tests before their actual exam? And that's usually where we see the 4s and 5s come. It's like where I say we're not miracle workers. It's just we hold kids accountable. We create a feedback loop. We teach them the skills, but ultimately the volume of work helps them. They're just not going to do it on their own. But because the AP exam, almost 50% of the exams are subjective by FRQs, they do need that iterative process of like where they're going wrong, where they go. But it seems like you've kind of perfected it in terms of the SAT,
Hmm.
with your volume of work. So you said AI tools will play a role in that, and they think they can. Do you have any there to recommend, or where do you see this going with AI being a thing now?
They could. I think AI is a very good equalizing resource for people. It's helped me a lot um in grad school. Like, I can, if you use it correctly, it's a very good resource. Um I think the problem comes when people over rely on it or if they're maybe not asking the right prompts. Like, I think the way to use AI for the SAT would be getting it to explain your mistakes, not getting it to generate content for you. I don't think it's very good at that yet,
Yeah.
at least. And I'm a little scared of AI. Hopefully, it doesn't come for all of our jobs. But um, yeah, we might as well use it if it's here, right?
Well, you're in
Um,
the motherland for where the AI is coming from, in
oh yeah,
South Berkeley.
I'm in the trenches. There's
Yeah,
AI billboards all around. You drive
really.
around. It's like get replaced by AI. Like, oh, hopefully not.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah.
I mean, you I guess let's well before we get into that, you've kind of lived this in terms of Ann Arbor, Michigan, engineering to Berkeley, PhD bound. Um, for a parent, because you're living the life that most of our parents want dream for their kids.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, so a kid aiming for a top 20 school, how important is the SAT really? With test optional, does it still matter?
Yeah, so I would say it's moderately important. You can actually see exactly how important it is for each school, which is you can use the common data set. If you Google
Mm-hmm.
any school and the common data set, that's going to tell you exactly how important it is in their algorithm for determining who gets in. And a lot of the times you'll see it's not as important as you might think. Like, it's pretty important, but it's not the end all be all factor, and it's not going to be like the determining factor. Like I got rejected from Stanford, MIT, Princeton, like all these big schools, right? I
Right.
got a 1600. That's like the dream for most
Right.
people, but that doesn't help get you there. A lot of it's luck, a lot of it's just having your extracurriculars maybe stand out in a way that the school is looking for, having a really stellar, shining essay,
Yeah. So
things
talk
like
about
that.
that. So I assume your GPA was probably phenomenal too.
Yeah, in high school, yes. In college for a chemical engineer, yes, I would say as
Okay,
well.
no, I'm sure you had a great. So again, and this is what like because obviously you seem to be interested in college admissions too with SAT. So we do help kids with that. We want to help kids with those journeys. We refer out to sometimes, but like because we do get a lot of kids coming there, and it's like I start with foundationally it is academics. You're not going anywhere without a good GPA. Which what is a good GPA? A 3.75 unweighted or higher, right?
Mhm.
Like if you want to get into the top schools, then you need a rocking good SAT score. Unfortunately, with score optional, everyone's skewed up. Like now,
Mhm.
1500s are like the expectation, not the exception anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you need like a 1540 to get into Stanford. Um, and you need those top AP scores too. But I think like you hit it on the head, like in terms. So I guess did you not feel strong about your essay? Like what you? I mean, in
No,
terms of
I
the
felt
Stanford, do you
very
have any?
strong about my essays as well. I'm a pretty good writer, hopefully. Like I did well on in all my English classes in school.
I
And
think you're gonna be fine. You're a PhD student at UC Berkeley. I think
yeah,
you're gonna be
it
fine.
turns out fine. I think the thing is there's a lot of luck involved, and I think a lot of parents are quite scared, like at the high level, if their kids get into Harvard, it's like a very status driven thing. I think it's important for parents to remember your child will be okay if they don't get into Harvard, if they don't get in the to the crazy elite schools that you want them to get into.
Sure.
They will find a path if they're driven and motivated, and you have to be driven and motivated to get those the GPA and the SAT that you would probably want applying. But at a certain point, it's just luck,
Mhm.
and it just comes down to that. There's a lot of applicants; they're not going to accept everyone. So
But you still got to Michigan, which is
it's
a very
true.
prestigious school, and you
Yes,
got into UC Berkeley as an undergrad. You just didn't go.
that's true. I think
Yeah.
the key, but it's again like those are very good schools. There are other good schools that didn't admit me.
No,
I think like it's a gamble, right? Like so you're gonna end up at a good school if you have those scores and you apply to
right.
10 or so schools, right? But it might not be the school that you ultimately really wanted to go to. Like that was your favorite dream school, top choice. But I
Did
think,
you? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, but I think basically once you get past a certain GPA and a
Hmm.
certain SAT score, you should not worry about it anymore. Like it's not worth the
Grinding
increases
yourself
are going
up.
to be marginal after that. Like it's
Sure.
more of a limiting factor. If you have too low of a GPA or too low of an SAT score, that
Mhm.
might be a red flag for schools and they might reject you.
Mhm.
But at a certain point, you're not going to get rejected for having a 1550. At
Right.
least in my day. Hopefully,
Right.
still not.
No,
Right.
it's changed a little bit, but it's not crazy. So, but you got in there without. Did you do a passion project?
I was a big Science Olympiad fan. I'm still involved in Science Olympiad. Unfortunately, it
Okay.
follows you for life. But yeah, my team made it to nationals for the first time in 25 years.
Okay.
That was kind of my big thing in high school. I got first place nationally in forensics. I
Mm.
had pretty strong
So
extracurriculars,
your
did a lot of
activities were
outreach.
pretty rocking. Okay.
Yeah. So
Got
every like I was kind of the stellar applicant for a lot of these schools, and it's luck.
Yeah.
I choose to believe that it's luck because
Okay. I
otherwise
got you.
it's something was up with my essays or personality. They didn't like me during the interviews, but I don't know. I find that hard to believe.
So I guess if I could play devil's advocate, kind of getting back to
Mhm.
your YouTube channel,
Yeah.
some people might say a YouTube video can't replace a real tutor. You need someone who knows your kid's weaknesses. How do you respond to that?
Um, I would say it depends on the YouTube video. Like I think if you if the YouTube video is targeted towards the specific question that your
Sure.
child is struggling with or their specific problem on the test, I think it can get most of the way to a real tutor in most cases. There might be some exceptional cases, and I think it's faster to have a tutor because then they can kind of direct your student like where they need to be going. But it's definitely, I don't think it's a requirement at all. And I think YouTube can do a lot of what tutors do.
Okay. Well, I hear you. I mean, it's a great instructional tool, right? And you obviously you're doing very well with it. Um, but you've created that content for tens of thousands of students. What is the most common question or fear you hear from students about the SAT and or college admissions?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a lot of them. I feel like most of the fear comes from, and most of the views come the night before the SAT. Um, you'd be surprised in the spike that happens in my
I'm
analytics the
sure.
night before every SAT,
I'm
which is a
sure.
little bit concerning because it means people are procrastinating their prep a little bit. It means the majority of people aren't really worried about their SAT until the night before, and then they're very worried. Then they're in the comments like, I'm gonna fail this, I'm like not gonna get the score I want to get, I'm gonna get rejected from my dream school. Then you get everyone worrying about it then. But I think the key is just to relax, get in a good state of mind. Like once it's the night before, I don't think too much else is gonna happen to change your
Right.
score unless you maybe apply some of the really fast grammar tips or math
Yeah, I
tips.
know. I still I still have Invisalign. I'm really bad at it. I only do it at night. I should be doing it
Yeah.
20. I mean, my if my orthodontist is listening, he's probably gonna yell at me. Um, I just got sick. I stopped like wearing it daily, and then it's like, and I'm making very so like. I think I see him in like 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm like, I'm still on. I should be changing every 2 weeks, and I'm so behind. You're starting to make me panic. And like it's like cramming before the dentist, right? Like you're not gonna,
Yeah.
you're good. It's gonna suck. Like you're
Hmm.
not doing that right. I mean,
And
that's
I'm so guilty of this too. Like every test, I'm like, why do I procrastinate until the night before and then pull an
right.
all-nighter? This happens with like basically every test, which is not good. I do not recommend
No,
doing this at all. But
right,
sometimes it's hard. It's hard.
right. Well, let's switch gears for a little bit and move over to our lightning round. I break
Hmm.
the rules every time. So I basically just gonna ask you 5 or 6 questions. First thing that comes to mind, just say it. If you want to
Okay.
explain, you can, but there's no explanation necessary.
Hmm.
Okay.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Most overrated SAT prep strategy right now.
Mm. Ooh, this is an old one. Picking all C's. People
One,
just used to, yeah,
yeah,
pick all
yeah, yeah,
C's.
yeah. One thing parents overthink about their kids' test scores.
Um, Past a 1550, it doesn't really matter.
Mm.
Past a 1500, it probably doesn't really matter. I don't think you should be stressing your kid out to get a 1600. That's my hot take.
One thing parents underthink.
I think a student's internal motivation.
Okay.
Your student has to want to do well. So like explaining why the SAT is important, like making like a goal sheet with them, like what will this help me accomplish?
Okay. What is if you could whisper one piece of advice to a parent of a freshman right now, what would it be?
I would say get them started early, get them thinking about the SAT early, but don't make them stress about it.
Okay. Best free resource for SAT prep that most people don't know about.
Ooh, I would say, I don't know if I have any. Khan Academy is the big one, but everyone knows about that. I would say maybe the SAT subreddit. They have a lot of good
Okay.
tips there. You can go there, get advice from other students who are struggling in the same boat. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Best free sorry, one book or resource every high achieving student should have. I like this question.
Mm, one book or resource. See, I don't know if there's any. I don't think I would. like put people in boxes. Like I don't know if you need any of the like you don't need to buy a book to do
Do you
well.
like Princeton though? Do you like the? I'm like, we're a big advocate of Princeton.
I don't know. I
Playbook.
don't super love Princeton. I've never really bought the like Princeton books or tried them.
Okay,
I used to use the Barons in high school.
Barron's. Okay,
Those were pretty helpful for a lot of
it's so
subjects.
so funny because like um Barron's is I feel like Barron's is a weaker AP material than Princeton Review for.
Really? See, I never
Mhm.
tried Princeton, so I don't know. But I
Oh
remember
yeah,
they were always much harder questions than were on the actual exam. So that's why I don't
yeah.
want to recommend them because like I feel like they're more effective,
I got you.
especially
Your
like if
body
you just
system.
do the
Sure.
multiple choice questions that your
Sure.
teacher gives out, that's way more effective than doing the Barron's multiple choice questions. I don't
I
know
got
about
you.
Princeton. I can't speak on them as much, but yeah.
No worries. Okay. Cool. Well, Anna, this has been incredibly valuable. I know parents are going to want to go deeper, but if I guess if they're interested, where is the best place for them to find you? Because you do have your YouTube channel, but what else should they check out?
Yes, so I have my YouTube channel. I'm in the process of making a website. It's not done yet, but possibly
Okay.
annasuniverse.com eventually. And I have a TikTok as well. I'm Anna's Universe on TikTok for like shorter form content. You can always reach out to me directly at annasuniversebusiness@gmail.com. And I'll be pretty responsive some of the year
Okay.
unless I'm dying with schoolwork. But yes.
Well, it's very impressive that you're juggling this plus your PhD at the same time. So,
Yes, thank you.
and before we wrap up, what's one thing you want people to remember from this conversation?
Um, I think don't be too stressed about the score you have. A lot of students get very anxious. I was one of them about their their AP scores, their SAT scores. Just remember it's going to work out in the end for you no matter what happens. You have the motivation to be listening to this, to be seeking out this content. It's going to be okay if you just take that motivation throughout life and use it.
Amazing. Anna, thank you. I appreciate you sharing the playbook, the quick tips, the strategies, your YouTube channel. For everyone listening, remember you don't have to play the game the way the system set it. You can find the foundation, you can build the skills, and you can get the results without the Burnout. Anna certainly had the self motivation to hack that system, and she's turned it into an opportunity to give away a lot of that through her passion. So we're going to put all the links that we discussed in the show notes, and they'll be on our YouTube channel as well. So thank you for joining the Support and Learning podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. It was great
Thank
talking.
you. Great
Bye.
talking to you, Anna. Good luck. Thank you.